Thank you very much, Sri Ramada, honored guests and friends. It is a very special honor for me to be invited to be the keynote speaker today when we celebrate the 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi, and I'm grateful for this opportunity. Gandhiji, whose memory and legacy to the world we honor today, never claimed to be a perfect human being or an infallible human being. He was very deeply aware of his own faults, but he worked ceaselessly and tirelessly until the end of his life to become a better human being, and especially a better non-violent human being. He ended his autobiography, My Experiments with Truth, with a request for a prayer, that the reader would pray that God would bless him with ahimsa in mind, in word, and in deed. Gandhiji lived his life in the public gaze as few leaders have done, and was very open about his failings and weaknesses. The title Mahatma, he said, caused him much pain and little joy. In his autobiography, he quoted the words of the poet Saint Surdas to express his feelings about himself, and I quote, "Where is there a wretch so wicked and loathsome as I? I have forsaken my Maker, so faithless have I been." But Gandhiji is not less relevant to us because he was imperfect. On the contrary, his humanity makes him even more relevant. Those who claim perfection and those we regard as perfect are not easily accessible to us. When we regard human beings as infallible and then we discover that they are not, we are shattered. We often cease to learn from them. But we learn much more from people like Gandhiji, who are open about their human weaknesses, but who strive in humility to become better human beings. In the words of his grandson, Rajmohan Gandhi, I quote, "The imperfect Gandhi was an astonishing human being." An astonishing human being is an apt description. Gandhi's name is synonymous with the long struggle for Indian independence, but he never aspired for or held political office. It's very difficult to believe that here is a man who never held political office in India or exercised power on the basis of wealth. He was nominated 5 times for the Nobel Prize. The last time, just a few days before his assassination in 1948. Gandhiji, one of the most deserving candidates for the Peace Prize, never complained. 2 of the awardees who followed him, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who was awarded the prize in 1964, and in 1989, the 14th Dalai Lama, in their acceptance speeches, they acknowledged that he was the mentor for the nonviolent struggle. So Gandhi's appeal in history is a very rare one in the history of human leadership. It was an appeal entirely on the basis of moral integrity. He moved millions to follow him not because of holding office, as I said, or power, but because they believed that he was free from greed and he was committed to the public good. Even those who doubted him and who disagreed with him never questioned his integrity. He truly labored to become the change that he wanted to see in the world. Public life for Gandhiji was not an avenue to wealth, to power, or to fame. And I think nothing testifies to his moral integrity more than the 5 meager possessions that he left upon his death. 5. A pocket watch, a pair of wooden sandals, a wooden bowl for his food, and gifted by a Japanese friend, 3 tiny porcelain monkeys who seemed to say, "See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil." These 5 things he called his own. Perhaps one story from his life tells clearly what public service meant to him. Gandhi, as many of you may know, served the Indian community in South Africa for almost a quarter of a century as a lawyer and community leader. And Nelson Mandela used to say, "You sent us Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, and we sent you back Mahatma Gandhi." In 1901, when he was about to leave for India, the community expressed its gratitude with expensive gifts. A gold necklace for his wife, Kasturbai, gold chains, gold watches, and diamond rings. Gandhi was agitated and restless. Is it right for a public servant to accept gifts? Are such rewards appropriate for public service? Gandhi confessed in his autobiography, and I quote, "The evening I was presented with the bulk of these things, I had a sleepless night. I walked up and down my room deeply agitated but could find no solution. It was difficult for me to forego gifts worth so much. It was more difficult to keep them. I was exhorting people to conquer their lust for possessions. What was I to do with the jewelry that had come upon me?" End of quote. After a restless night, he decided he could not accept the gifts, but placed everything in a trust for the community. The decision, as the quotation shows, was not without struggle. As he says, "It was difficult for me to forego gifts worth so much." But it testifies to his willingness to become the change he wanted to see in the world. He was firm in his belief that public service must not be misused for self-enrichment and personal gain. His life is full of such examples. But while Gandhiji worked tirelessly to overcome temptations and to transform himself, we will not be here today if his life was only about individual moral growth. History is full of solitary saints who turned away from the world to pursue a life of spiritual search and realization. Gandhi was not such a saint. He appreciated the need to transform social, political, and economic structures to create a just society in which all human beings have the opportunity to flourish. He understood the need for both individual transformation as well as the transformation of social structures. Both are necessary. Social structures mirror who we are internally, but then these structures take on a life of their own and also shape who we are. Dr. Martin Luther King understood this. He understood the uniqueness and the social significance of Gandhi. And in his autobiography, Dr. King gave one of the highest tributes to Mahatma Gandhi. And I quote, it's a very important observation of Dr. King. He wrote, "Gandhi was probably the first person in history to lift the love ethic of Jesus above mere interaction between individuals to a powerful and effective social force on a large scale. Love for Gandhi was a potent instrument for social and collective transformation." This is a remarkable statement from a Christian pastor and leader to say that Gandhi took Jesus' love ethic to a new height and formed a social movement on the basis of love. Gandhi did not invent non-violence. Ahimsa is a core value in all of the religious traditions of India. In fact, I would say it's the paramount value. We say Ahimsa Paramo Dharma. It is the highest virtue. Before Gandhi, however, it was a value practice for individual transformation and limited to the sphere of personal relationships. It was Gandhi's genius, as Dr. King so rightly and eloquently described it, to interpret and transform non-violence into a method of social transformation. In Gandhi's hands, ahimsa, or non-violence, which he understood positively to mean love, became a powerful and universal method to combat oppression by an unjust government, but also to combat interreligious violence and social evils like untouchability. He called his method satyagraha, or truth force. But since truth for Gandhi was synonymous with love, it is appropriate to speak of satyagraha as the power of love, the power of non-violence. Satyagraha brought love and struggle, love and resistance together for the first time in history. This is Gandhi's genius. This is where we can learn from him. So let me conclude by just briefly mentioning the 4 arguments that he gave for nonviolence, each of which still powerfully calls us today. First, according to Gandhiji, violence is based on an untruth. It denies the fundamental fact that all human beings constitute a single community and that love and goodwill, not hate and ill will, are the only valid basis for human relationship. Violence thrives on division and disunity. Even in the midst of strongest disagreements, Gandhi never sought to win support for his case by demonizing his opponent. He understood clearly that when a conflict is constructed sharply in terms of we and they, victory and defeat, the doors to reconciliation are closed and the transformed community never happens. One is left with an enemy, a defeated enemy perhaps, and the next round of conflict is only postponed. He included, in other words, even his opponents in the circle of his community. He didn't marginalize them. Let me just quickly tell you one short story. Imprisoned in South Africa, Gandhi took to leather work. to making shoes, and he made a pair of sandals. When leaving South Africa for India, he handed over the sandals to his secretary, Sonia Shelsin, asking her to deliver them to General Smuts, the person who had put him in prison. Smuts wore these sandals every summer at his farm outside of Pretoria. And when Gandhi turned 70 years old, General Smuts sent back the sandals as a gesture of friendship. And in a note he wrote, "It was my fate to be your antagonist, a man for whom I had the highest respect." He never forgot the human background of the situation, never lost his temper or hated me. What a remarkable tribute.